All right, so we're going to do 6.7 day 3, which is basically what we've been doing, but because it's such a crucial thing and we need more practice, we're taking another day with it. So the first thing I would like for you to do is try letters A and B. These are crucial things that we need to know how to do as we keep moving forward. So take a second, pause the video, and take a look at that. So if you were to complete these two, hopefully we were able to factor them. The first one you needed to factor by grouping, and you would have gotten x squared plus 3 and 3x minus 1. When you solve, the x squared minus or plus 3 does give you an imaginary. And remember, anytime you take the square root, you need a plus or minus. On letter B, you had to use synthetic. Once you did that, you have the equation in orange, x squared plus 3x minus 10, which is a trinomial. And if you t-chart that, you get x plus 5 and x minus 2. When you solve, you get negative 5 and 2, but don't forget to add in that negative 1 that we took out in the beginning. All right, so we are going to continue this today. So we're going to find all the zeros. So the first thing that we're going to have to do is plug this into our calculator. Okay, so go ahead, get your calculator out and type in this equation now. So if you typed in your equation into your y equals, it's 2x to the fourth minus 3x cubed minus 24x squared plus 4x plus 48. Once you hit graph, we can take a look at what the graph is going to look like. Again, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to load. Okay, but we can see that it's crossing or hitting the x-axis at 3 points. Okay, it looks like the first one is at -2, and it looks like the second one is a decimal, but the third one kind of looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe, but it might be a little off. So to check to make sure, we do second table, remember, and we can see right from where we see here that we have a 0 at -2 and a 0 at 4, like we said. Now there's going to be a 0 somewhere because you can see that it goes from a positive 27 to a negative 32. So I know it's going to cross there too, but we don't know what it is. But we do know -2 and 4. So I know x is going to equal -2 and 4, which means if we go backwards, we get x plus 2 and x minus. So we're going to take those and use synthetic. So let's use -2 first. Write our equation. 2, -3, -24, 4, and 3. Don't need any zeros because all my x's are accounted for. So we're going to drop down the 2, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, and then multiply. We get 0. Now again, we can write this as a new equation, but because we have a second one to take out, we can just add it on right here. Okay, now our remainder needs to be 0 in that spot. Drop down the 2. We have 8, 1, 4, -6, -24. So now there wasn't any that we saw on the graph to keep going from here, so we have to write it. So 2x squared plus x minus 6. Remember, normally we take 1 degree away, but because we did synthetic twice, we would take 2 away from the degree. So we can t-chart it. We have -12. So we need to multiply to -12, add to 1. Well, two numbers that do that, 4 and 3, right? With the 3 being negative. So we put our 2x in the denominator, and we can simplify the left as 2 over x. So this one gives me x plus 2 and 2x minus 3. So those would be additional zeros for us. Now, yes, 2x plus 2 is written twice. You could write it in our final answer here as x plus 2 squared if you want. But you do need to account for it 2 times. Now, in our zeros, I don't have to write -2 again because I already know it's a 0. But I do need to solve this one. which would give me 3 over 2. Okay, now if you wrote -2 a second time, I will not mark off any points. But you don't need it because it's already there. Okay, you do need it in the factored form, though, because think about it. I need to be able to distribute all of those and combine like terms, get back to where I started. So I need 4x's. All right, so we're going to do the same thing in number 6. So go ahead and type that into your calculator now. All right, so if you typed it in your calculator, you get 4x to the fourth plus 12x cubed minus 5x squared minus 21x plus 10. So we hit graph and we take a look at what we're working with here. So this graph crosses at 4 spots. It looks like it's at -2 and 1, but we have to check to make sure that it's crossing at those. It might be at -3 as well. Nope, not -3. So we have -2 and a +1 that we already know are factors. So we have x equals -2 and a +1, which means x plus 2 and x minus 1. We work our way back. So let's factor out a 2 first. We're left with 4, 12, 5, -21, 10, right? Again, we don't need any zeros because everything's accounted for. So we multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, add, then multiply. We get 0, which is good. So again, let's just tack on the 1 into this problem. Drop down the 4, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply. Now we can rewrite this equation. So this is 4x squared plus 8x minus 5. Again, we started with the fourth degree and took 2 x's away, so now we're squared. Okay, so we're going to try to factor this now. First times last gives me -20. I'm going to multiply to -20, add to 8. That would be 10 and -2 with a 4x in our denominator. We can simplify these by dividing by 2. So we get 5 over 2x. And the other side is -1 over 2x. So our factors are 2x plus 5 and 2x minus 2. We're going to write those here. And you just set each equal to 0. So that means that we would get -5 halves and we would get a +1 for that problem. So I'm actually going to have you go ahead and cross off number 7. It's just not the best problem. It doesn't have a good 0. So we're going to go on to number 8. Okay, so I've typed in the equation for number 8 and we hit our graph. And once we do that, we can see that it is crossing at a couple points. Okay, so it's at 3 points. And it looks like it's crossing at where x is 2. And if we check our table, it is at where x is 2. So I know one of my equations is where x equals 2, which is x minus 2 in factored form. So we can go ahead and take out a 2. 10, -17, -7, 2. Drop it down, multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply. So now we're left with the equation 10x squared plus 3x minus 1. If we multiply first times last, we get -10. And we would get 5 and -2 as our factors with a 10x in our denominator. Both of these are divisible or can reduce, so we get 1 over 2x and we get -1 over 5x. So 2x plus 1 and 5x minus 1 are our other factors. That means if we solve for 0, we'd get -1/2 and 1/3.